play slide guitar. Now my phone will cut out after 11.5 minutes. It'll flash up saying, "You've reached your limit, time's up, bugger off." So I've set a kitchen timer for 10 minutes so I have a chance to say goodbye. And I'm going to record this series of lessons in just over 10-minute episodes, and there'll be a number of them until I've covered the basics of how to play slide guitar. What's the first thing you need? It's a guitar. And I'm not joking. You need a separate guitar from your regular guitar. Why? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, you need thicker strings. It's very important that the strings will never actually connect with the frets. If they do, it sounds like a regular guitar. But what you want to hear is... So, to get the strings away from the frets, the first thing, as I said, is thicker strings. The strings I use are gauge 13 to 53. That's 13 on the thinnest and 53 on the thickest, the bass. Now I don't know what that measurement is. It might be millimeters, inches, furlongs. It doesn't say on the box or the packet. It just says 13 and the number of numbers, and the thickest one, 53. And then you need to take your guitar to a luthier to get it adjusted, because with those thicker strings you need to have bigger grooves cut into the nut to accommodate the thicker strings. And then to get those strings away from the frets, you need to have the action raised. The action, that's the distance from the strings to the fretboard. And yeah, you could try and do it yourself, but I don't recommend it because you might end up messing up the intonation. So the guitars I use for slide, I've taken all those guitars to a luthier and had them raise the action, cut thicker grooves into the nut, and then I've put the thicker strings on it. So that's the first thing. And then you need a slide. Originally a slide was the neck of a bottle. That's why the style was called bottleneck. But more recently, you get a tube. This is a steel tube. You can also get a glass tube. Now, there are advantages to a glass tube in that if you're playing on an acoustic guitar, you won't hear the scraping sound as you slide up the strings. But with an electric guitar, this scraping sound doesn't come through anyway. And the advantage of a steel one is, well, I had a glass one once, and I dropped it, and it broke into a million pieces. And I didn't want to try and stick them all together with Aerodite, so I now use a steel slide, and I've dropped it loads of times and it never breaks. As to what kind of guitar, well, first of all, the guitar has got to have steel strings, and you can play it on acoustic or an electric guitar, but I prefer electric guitar because you've got the second octave. Now, you will need a basic knowledge of playing guitar to learn how to play slide, but with an electric guitar, as you'll know, the fretboard starts again at fret 12. So where you've got a C there, you've also got a C up there. So you can go from C to C by going. Now when you play slide, physically it's actually a lot easier than when you play regular guitar. Because with a regular guitar you have to press down hard on the strings to get them to play against the frets without buzzing. With a slide it's the exact opposite. You don't press hard at all. You actually got to glide the slide gently on the strings, taking care never to press the strings against the fret. So it's physically much easier. So if you have any condition like arthritis or stiff fingers or stiff wrist, slide is the style for you. Now the second thing is tuning. we're going to choose a guitar. We're going to choose a tuning. Well, I've chosen a tuning which I'm going to show you. There are various tunings that you can choose for slide guitar. There are actually no rules in modern guitar styles. You just use whichever tuning works for you. Also with the slide, which finger to put it on. Some people put it on the little, I put it on the little, some people put it on the fourth finger. When you go and buy a slide, check it out first, try it out first in the shop. Because if you got chunky fingers, they may not fit in the slide that you want to use. So just try it out. This is the tuning that I've chosen. The bottom string tunes up from E up to G. Now you're tuning it up 3 semitones, so tune it up very slowly, stop it snapping. Then the next string, you're tuning up 2 semitones from A to B. The next string, that's the D string, that was D anyway. And the next string, that's the G string, that was the G anyway. And the next string, that's the B string, that was the B anyway. The next string comes down 2 semitones to a D. So tune it up so it matches. Now when you've tuned your guitar up to that, you've got an open chord of G. Now you'll be used to, on your old guitar, the positions on the fretboard where you'll have F, F sharp, G, G sharp, etc. all the way up. But with your new tuning, that's all changed. Your open, that's G. And then you got G sharp, A sharp, B, C. To help remember those chords and find them quickly, you could actually get a marker pen and write it on the fretboard by every fret what it is. If we're playing in the key of G, then in particular, you're going to need to know that the 5th fret is C and the 7th fret is a D. And as soon as you can, memorize those positions, because if we're going to start off playing in the key of G, because once you're tuned to G, that's certainly going to be the easiest key to play in. And if you're playing blues, you're going to need to know the chords of C and D, which are on the 5th and the 7th. Now, you'll be aware that you normally, with a slide, you'll normally be hearing single strings. But with slide you can also play a whole chord at a time. So we can play G, C, D. Try this. Open G, then open C on the 5th fret. Let's do that again. 0 and then 5. Now 0, 5, 0. Let's do that again. 0, 5, 0 after 3. 1, 2, 3. Now 0, 5, 0, 3 after 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3. Now let's do all of that and then 0. That is open. After 3. 1, 2, 3. There's your buzzer. Just quickly. 0, 3, 5, 0, 3. And then open. Again. 0, 5, 0, 3. Open. little practice, you're going to get. Now I'm going to say goodbye as it's about to shut off. Look out for episode 2. Just search How to Play Slide Guitar by Andy Gilbert, episode 2, and we'll carry on from there.